Did you know that nearly 2.5% of the United States is governed by sovereign Native American nations? These tribes, recognized by the federal government, control vast territories, and yet their histories and struggles are often overlooked. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Native American reservations, their unique sovereignty, and how they continue to shape the land we live on. Stay tuned for a journey through time, resilience, and power. The history of Native American tribes in the United States is one of survival, resilience, and an enduring fight for autonomy. Today, we see a legacy of this struggle in the form of Native American reservations. These areas of land are unique. They are not part of any state, but are governed by the tribes themselves, who exercise their sovereign rights within the territory. The concept of Native American sovereignty is rooted in a long history, dating back to the pre-Columbian era, when numerous tribes flourished across the continent in vibrant, self-governing communities. Before European settlers arrived, Native American tribes held complex and organized societies with distinct cultures, languages, and governing structure. Each tribe, whether it was the Apache in the southwest, the Sioux on the Great Plains, or the Iroquois in the northeast, had its own form of governance. These systems were diverse. Some were based on councils of elders, while others relied on powerful chiefs or religious leaders. In essence, each tribe governed itself and made decisions that were in the best interest of its people. However, the arrival of Europeans in the Americas marked the beginning of a prolonged period of upheaval for these tribes. The forced displacement, introduction of foreign diseases, and violent conflict during colonization disrupted the way Native Americans had lived for centuries. As settlers moved westward across the continent, the U.S. government began to impose policies that sought to subjugate native tribes, pushing them off their ancestral lands and attempting to assimilate them into mainstream American culture. This period of forced relocation, commonly known as the Trail of Tears, saw tens of thousands of Native Americans relocated to areas set aside for them, often with little regard for their cultural or historical ties to the land. Despite these devastating losses, Native American tribes did not give up their claim to sovereignty. They fought in numerous battles against the encroaching settlers and later the U.S. military. The most famous of these struggles includes the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, where the Lakota Sioux, led by Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, decisively defeated General Custer's troops. This was one of the few significant victories for Native Americans, symbolizing their resistance against the forced colonization of their land. The U.S. government eventually began to adopt policies that recognized the unique relationship between native tribes and their land. In 1834, the U.S. Congress passed the Indian Trade and Intercourse Act, which acknowledged Native Americans as separate political entities. However, it was the Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed by President Andrew Jackson, that forced the relocation of thousands of tribes to reservations in the West, far from their ancestral homelands. The idea behind these reservations was that they would be places where Native Americans could live away from settlers, but they were often barren lands that were not suitable for farming or hunting, which had been central to Native American life. Over time, the U.S. government continued to implement policies that sought to assimilate Native Americans into Western culture, such as the Dawes Act of 1887, which sought to break up tribal lands into individual plots and distribute them to individual Native Americans. This policy, known as allotment, was an effort to dissolve tribal ownership of land and push Native people into the American agricultural economy. The effects of this policy were disastrous. Many Native Americans lost their lands, as the government sold off the land to non-native settlers, and tribes were further weakened. By the early 20th century, Native Americans found themselves struggling to maintain their cultural identity, while also grappling with the loss of their land and autonomy. However, it was during this time that Native American sovereignty began to take on a new meaning. In the 1930s, the Indian Reorganization Act, under President Franklin D. Roosevelt, attempted to reverse some of the damage caused by earlier policy. This act allowed for the restoration of tribal governments and a return to a certain level of self-governance. It was a small but significant step toward the recognition of Native American rights. The most significant legal recognition of Native American sovereignty, however, came in the 1970s with the rise of the Native American civil rights movement. The movement, which gained momentum after the successes of the African American civil rights movement, sought to assert the rights of Native Americans, not only to their land, but also to their political and cultural sovereignty. It led to key legal victories, including the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act of 1975, which allowed Native tribes to take control of programs and services that were previously administered by the U.S. government. This was a critical step in restoring the tribe's ability to govern themselves and take control of their economic and social affairs. Today, Native American reservations are a testament to the enduring strength of these communities. The land may have been taken from them, their cultures disrupted, and their sovereignty repeatedly challenged, but Native tribes have maintained their right to self-govern. There are currently 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States, and each one governs its own reservation with authority granted by the federal government. These reservations are diverse, with some tribes thriving through a mix of traditional industries and modern enterprises, such as casinos and resorts, while others continue to struggle with poverty, lack of resources, and the challenges of maintaining their cultural heritage. Despite the challenges, Native American tribes have a unique relationship with the land that is deeply rooted in their cultural and spiritual beliefs. Many tribes still maintain strong connections to their ancestral lands and view the land as sacred. For example, the Navajo Nation, which spans across parts of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico, not only governs the land, but also considers it an integral part of their cultural identity. Similarly, the Lakota Sioux view the Black Hills as sacred, and the ongoing struggle for the return of these lands is central to their fight for sovereignty. The struggle for Native American sovereignty continues to this day. In recent years, there has been growing recognition of the importance of tribal sovereignty in legal and political spheres. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Native American tribes in several key cases, recognizing their right to self-determination and self-governance. Tribes are increasingly asserting their authority over natural resources, healthcare, education, and law enforcement on their lands, further solidifying their sovereignty. At the same time, Native American reservations remain places of profound resilience and culture. Many tribes continue to preserve their languages, traditions, and customs, ensuring that future generations will have the knowledge and resources they need to thrive. Today, Native American sovereignty stands as a symbol of the endurance and strength of indigenous peoples, whose history, culture, and presence in the United States cannot be erased. As we delve deeper into the history of Native American reservations, it's essential to understand that these lands are not just territories. They are living, breathing testaments to the fight for survival, dignity, and justice. The journey toward full recognition of Native American sovereignty is far from over, but it is a testament to the strength of the Native American spirit. The tribes have fought for their lands, their rights, and their futures, and today they continue to shape their destinies in ways that reflect both their past and their future. While the history of Native American reservations is deeply tied to the struggle for sovereignty and survival, The cultural and spiritual significance of these lands goes beyond mere politics or legal battle. For Native American tribes, their reservations are more than just parcels of land. They are sacred spaces imbued with centuries of traditions, stories, and deep spiritual connections. The land is not simply where people live. It is a central part of their identity, their history, and their connection to the world around them. For many Native American tribes, the relationship with the land is not one of ownership, but of stewardship. Native peoples view the land as a gift from their ancestors and the Creator, and they are entrusted with the responsibility of caring for it. This deep spiritual connection is woven into their cultural practices, ceremonies, and way of life. The land provides sustenance, not only through physical resources like food, water, and natural materials, but also through spiritual nourishment. In this context, the reservation is not just a location. It is a living, breathing entity that nurtures and sustains the tribe. Take, for example, the Navajo Nation, which spans parts of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. For the Navajo people, the land is sacred. Their creation stories, passed down through generations, tell of their emergence from the underworld and their journey to their current homeland. This land, known as Dineta, is central to Navajo cosmology and spiritual life. The very mountains, rivers, and rocks of the land are seen as sacred beings. The reservation is not merely a place where the Navajo people live. It is where their spiritual practices unfold, where they connect with their ancestors, and where they find healing. In traditional Navajo belief, the relationship between humans and the earth is reciprocal. The land provides for the people, and in return, the people are expected to honor the earth through rituals and ceremonies. One of the most significant ceremonies, the Blessing Way, is a prayer for health and harmony that acknowledges the interconnectedness of all life. During this ceremony, the land plays a crucial role as the physical and spiritual foundation of the prayer. Similarly, the Navajo believe that the land has the power to heal, and many seek solace in the natural world, turning to the sacred landscapes of their homeland for strength. Similarly, for the Lakota Sioux, the Black Hills in South Dakota are considered one of the most sacred places on earth. These hills are central to Lakota culture and spirituality, and their significance stretches back to the creation of the world. According to Lakota tradition, the Black Hills are where their people were created, and it is where they must return after death. The hills are considered the spiritual heart of Lakota identity, a place of ancestral power and a source of life. The importance of the Black Hills is so profound that their continued loss to outside forces remains one of the central struggles for the Lakota Sioux, symbolizing their ongoing fight for sovereignty, dignity, and the preservation of their culture. The spiritual connection to land extends beyond just specific locations like the Black Hills or Dineta. It is inherent in the daily life of Native communities. Many Native American tribes continue to practice traditional activities such as hunting, gathering, farming, and acting, activities that have sustained them for centuries. These practices are not just economic, they are cultural and spiritual. Hunting, for instance, is seen as a sacred act. It is not merely about procuring food. It is about maintaining balance with nature and honoring the animals that provide sustenance. The buffalo, which was central to the lives of Plains tribes, is a prime example of this sacred relationship. The buffalo was not only a vital food source, but its hide, bones, and other parts were used for clothing, tools, and ceremonial objects. Every part of the buffalo was respected, and the act of hunting, it was accompanied by prayers and rituals. In the same way, the harvest of crops, such as corn, beans, and squash, is treated with reverence in many Native communities. These crops are often referred to as The Three Sisters, and the growing process is intertwined with spiritual practices. The planting, tending, and harvesting of these crops are seen as acts of reciprocity, as tribes give thanks for the abundance the land provides. In many tribes, ceremonies are held at the time of harvest, offering gratitude to the Creator and the earth for sustaining the community. The land also provides a place for cultural preservation. On Native American reservations, the continuation of traditions such as storytelling, language, art, and music is essential to maintaining a tribe's identity. Many reservations have made significant efforts to preserve and revitalize native languages, which are often at risk of being lost. Language revitalization programs, immersion schools, and cultural centers are helping to ensure that future generations will continue to speak the languages of their ancestors and carry on their tradition. The language is more than just a means of communication. It is a vessel for culture, history, and spirituality. The art of Native American tribes is deeply connected to the land as well. Traditional crafts, such as weaving, pottery, beadwork, and painting, are often inspired by the natural world. The patterns and designs used in native art are symbolic and carry spiritual significance. For example, the intricate patterns of Navajo rugs are not just decorative. They are a reflection of the tribe's worldview, which emphasizes harmony, balance, and the cyclical nature of life. The symbols and motifs in native art often represent the animals, plants, and elements that are central to their spiritual beliefs. On reservations, art has become a powerful means of cultural expression and resistance. Many native artists use their work to tell stories of their history, their struggles, and their dreams for the future. This creative expression serves as a form of empowerment, allowing native communities to assert their sovereignty and pride in their heritage. In recent years, Native American reservations have become vibrant hubs of cultural revitalization. While some reservations still face significant economic challenges, many are using their sovereignty to create opportunities for economic development that also honor their tradition. Tribes are increasingly looking to tourism, natural resource management, and enterprises like casinos to generate income, while also using the profits to support educational programs, healthcare, and cultural initiatives. These efforts are helping to ensure the survival of native cultures and providing a foundation for future generations. However, despite these strides, the battle for land and cultural preservation is ongoing. Native American reservations still face challenges such as underfunded education systems, inadequate health care, and limited access to economic opportunity. Many tribes continue to fight for control over their natural resources, such as oil, gas, and water, which are often exploited by outside corporations. These battles are deeply rooted in the historical struggles for sovereignty and the desire to protect the sacred relationship between the tribes and the land. Today, Native American reservations stand as a testament to the endurance and resilience of indigenous peoples. The land that was once taken from them has become a place of cultural resurgence, spiritual healing, and sovereignty. These lands are not just physical spaces. They are living, sacred places that continue to sustain and nourish the Native American tribes who call them home. As we reflect on the cultural and spiritual significance of Native American reservations, it becomes clear that these lands are more than just territories. They are a vital part of Native American identity, heritage, and survival. The connection between Native people and the land is not simply historical. It is alive, ever-present, and deeply embedded in their daily lives. The reservation is not just a place of survival. It is a space for cultural preservation, spiritual renewal, and the ongoing assertion of sovereignty. Through their deep spiritual connections to the land, Native American tribes continue to honor the past, navigate the present, and build a future rooted in their traditions and values. While the cultural, spiritual, and historical significance of Native American reservations remains undeniable, these lands are not free from challenges. Throughout history, Native American communities have endured a series of hardships, and even today, many reservations continue to face a wide range of social, economic, and political difficulties. Despite these obstacles, however, the resilience of Native American tribes remains an enduring testament to their strength, determination, and commitment to preserving their identity and culture. One of the most significant challenges facing Native American reservations is poverty. According to various reports, many Native communities struggle with high unemployment rates, substandard housing, and limited access to health care and education. Poverty on reservations often stems from historical injustices, including the forced displacement of Native communities, the loss of their ancestral lands, and the disruption of traditional ways of life. The impact of these events is still felt today, as many reservations are located in remote rural areas that lack infrastructure and economic opportunity. In some areas, the lack of economic development on reservations is compounded by geographic isolation. Many reservations are located in areas far from urban centers, making it difficult for residents to access essential services or find employment opportunities. In addition, the land on many reservations is often not suited for large-scale agriculture or industry, which limits economic opportunities for tribes. As a result, many Native communities continue to face economic hardships, with unemployment rates significantly higher than the national average. Healthcare is another critical issue for Native American communities living on reservations. The Indian Health Service, IHS, the federal agency responsible for providing healthcare to Native Americans, is chronically underfunded and often struggles to meet the needs of tribal communities. As a result, many Native Americans experience inadequate healthcare services, leading to higher rates of chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and substance abuse. Mental health services are also limited on many reservations, and the rates of suicide, particularly among young Native Americans, are disproportionately high. The lack of access to health care and mental health services is compounded by systemic barriers, such as the limited number of medical professionals and the ongoing effects of historical trauma. Education is another area where Native American communities often face significant challenges. Schools on reservations frequently suffer from underfunding and a lack of resources, which can lead to lower educational attainment levels and fewer opportunities for young Native Americans. Many reservations also struggle with high dropout rates and limited access to college and vocational training programs. These educational disparities are tied to both the historical marginalization of Native peoples and the continuing lack of investment in their communities. Despite these challenges, Native American communities have made significant strides in recent years to improve educational outcomes. Tribal schools, language immersion programs, and community-driven initiatives are helping to empower Native youth, preserve their languages, and provide them with the tools they need to succeed in the modern world. Despite the ongoing challenges they face, Native American communities have shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. This resilience is deeply rooted in their cultural traditions, spiritual beliefs, and a profound sense of community. The concept of resilience in Native American cultures is not just about surviving hardship. It is about thriving in the face of challenges, while remaining true to one's identity and value. One of the key sources of resilience for Native American communities is their connection to culture and tradition. For many tribes, maintaining their cultural practices and traditions is essential to their survival. This includes passing down knowledge through oral traditions, preserving their languages, and keeping alive ceremonies and rituals that have been practiced for generations. By holding on to these practices, Native communities are able to maintain their sense of identity and continue to connect with their ancestors. For example, the Navajo Nation has worked tirelessly to preserve its language, which is considered one of the most important elements of their cultural heritage. Navajo immersion schools and language programs are helping to teach young Navajos the language of their ancestors, ensuring that future generations will be able to speak and understand the language. These programs not only preserve the Navajo language, but also instill a sense of pride in young people, helping them to reconnect with their heritage and strengthen their cultural identity. Similarly, the Lakota Sioux have been instrumental in the revitalization of their traditional practices, including their sacred ceremonies and cultural teaching. In recent years, the Lakota have made efforts to restore the cultural and spiritual practices associated with the Sundance, a sacred ceremony that plays a vital role in their spirituality. This ceremony, which involves fasting, dancing, and prayer, serves as a reminder of the deep spiritual connection between the people, the earth, and the Creator. The resurgence of such practices is not only a form of cultural preservation, but also a powerful statement of resistance against the forces of assimilation and colonization. Another vital aspect of resilience on Native American reservations is the emphasis on community. Native American cultures place great importance on the well-being of the collective over the individual. This communal approach to life is seen in the ways in which families, elders, and leaders come together to address challenges and support one another. In many tribes, the role of the elder is central to the community's strength. Elders serve as keepers of tradition and knowledge, guiding the younger generation and ensuring that cultural wisdom is passed down. The family unit is also of paramount importance, as extended families often live together or close by, providing emotional and physical support. Tribal governments, which operate under the sovereignty granted by treaties with the U.S. government, also play a critical role in the resilience of Native American communities. In recent decades, many tribes have worked to exercise their sovereignty and gain greater control over their lands, resources, and governance. By asserting their rights and reclaiming authority over their lands, tribes are working to build more sustainable and self-sufficient economies. Some reservations have found success in industries like gaming, tourism, and natural resource management, which help generate revenue and provide employment opportunities for tribal members. The use of gaming revenue has also allowed many tribes to fund educational initiatives, healthcare programs, and community development projects, improving the overall quality of life for their members. One of the most inspiring aspects of Native American resilience is the rise of youth-led movements and activism. Young Native Americans are increasingly advocating for social justice, environmental protection, and the preservation of their cultural heritage. They are using social media and other platforms to bring attention to issues such as climate change, the protection of sacred lands, and the revitalization of native languages. This new generation of Native American leaders is continuing the work of their ancestors, ensuring that their voices are heard and their rights are respected. As Native American communities continue to confront the challenges they face, it is essential to recognize their ongoing resilience. From efforts to preserve their cultures and languages to the fight for self-determination and sovereignty, Native American tribes are not merely surviving. They are thriving. They are doing so by drawing on their deep spiritual connections to the land, their cultural traditions, and their unwavering commitment to community. Despite the obstacles that remain, Native American reservations continue to serve as beacons of hope, resilience, and resistance. Through their strength and perseverance, Native American tribes remind us that survival is not just about enduring. It is about continuing to thrive, adapt, and honor the cultural legacies that have shaped their peoples for millennia. The challenges are far from over, but the resilience of Native American communities stands as a powerful testament to their unwavering spirit and their ability to overcome adversity. In the face of adversity, many Native American communities have found strength in revitalizing their cultural practices and tradition. This cultural renaissance is a powerful response to centuries of forced assimilation, displacement, and erasure of their ways of life. Today, Native Americans are not just keeping their heritage alive. They are actively weaving their traditions into modern society, ensuring that their rich cultural tapestry is passed on to future generations. A major part of this cultural revival is the preservation and reinvigoration of Native American languages. Language is not just a means of communication. It is a repository of culture, philosophy, history, and worldview. Unfortunately, many native languages were suppressed during colonization, and many tribes are now engaged in efforts to prevent the extinction of their language. Immersion schools, language camps, and community programs are now providing younger generations with the tools to speak their ancestors' languages fluently. The resurgence of languages such as Cherokee, Navajo, Lakota, and Ojibwe is a vital part of reclaiming a sense of identity and sovereignty. For instance, the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma has launched an innovative language revitalization program, offering courses and immersive experiences for young people. By integrating technology and interactive learning, they've been able to reach a broader audience, including younger generations who may have grown up without much exposure to their native tongue. This effort not only helps preserve the language, but also strengthens the bond between youth and their cultural roots. The same is true for many tribes across the country, where language revitalization serves as an act of cultural resistance, asserting that Native Americans will not be erased from the narrative of history. Beyond language, the revival of traditional ceremonies, dances, and festivals has been essential to the restoration of cultural pride. Powwows, which bring together Native Americans from various tribes, have become a symbol of unity and cultural celebration. These gatherings are not just performances, they are opportunities for Native people to reconnect with their spiritual roots, share their history, and teach younger generations the importance of tradition. The vibrant dances, songs, and attire worn at powwows reflect the resilience and diversity of Native American cultures. Moreover, the resurgence of traditional crafts and art forms plays a vital role in maintaining and expressing cultural heritage. Native artists are now reclaiming traditional art forms, such as beadwork, pottery, weaving, and carving, while also exploring contemporary methods to share their stories with the world. By embracing both traditional and modern art, Native American artists are challenging stereotypes and reshaping perceptions of Native culture. Their art is not just a reflection of the past. It is a powerful statement of cultural survival and creativity. The revitalization of sacred ceremonies also plays an integral role in the community's spiritual resilience. Sacred ceremonies, such as the sun dance, potlatch, and vision quests, are not just religious rituals. They are a form of resistance against the centuries of forced religious conversions. These ceremonies, along with their accompanying songs, prayers, and rituals, keep Native American traditions alive and rooted in the spiritual landscapes of their ancestors. Today, these ceremonies serve as acts of spiritual resistance, creating a sense of belonging and grounding in a world that often seeks to erase indigenous identities. In addition to cultural revitalization, Native American communities are also focusing on building economic sustainability and regaining control over their resources. Historically, Native Americans have been subjected to policies that denied them ownership of their land, undermining their ability to thrive economically. In the present day, many native tribes are actively working toward economic self-sufficiency by using their sovereignty to engage in various ventures that provide employment, boost community development, and secure financial independence. A major driver of economic growth in Native American communities has been tribal gaming, which has created significant revenue streams for many tribes across the United States. The Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of 1988 allowed tribes to operate casinos and other gaming establishments on their lands, and the revenues generated have been invested into community development, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Gaming has allowed many Native American nations to invest in their own communities, providing employment, supporting local businesses, and funding essential programs. For example, the Pequot tribe of Connecticut used the revenue from their Foxwoods Resort Casino to develop schools, build medical facilities, and improve public services for their community. Similarly, the Mohegan tribe has used gaming profits to expand their business ventures and establish cultural initiatives, ensuring that their traditional values are incorporated into the modern economy. Although gaming has faced criticism in some circles, for many Native American tribes, it has been a vital tool for economic development and cultural preservation. In addition to gaming, many Native American tribes are also engaging in other industries, such as natural resource management, tourism, and agriculture. Some tribes, like the Navajo Nation, are working on sustainable energy projects that utilize the natural resources found on their lands, including solar power and wind energy. These projects not only help reduce dependence on outside sources, but also create new economic opportunities for tribal members. Tribal tourism is another growing industry that provides economic benefits to Native communities while allowing visitors to learn about Native American history and culture. Tribal-owned resorts, cultural centers, and museums are popular tourist destinations, generating revenue that supports community initiatives and cultural preservation. By opening their doors to the world, Native American tribes are creating an economic foundation for future generations, while sharing their rich history with others. However, economic development on Native American reservations is not without its challenges. Tribal sovereignty, though an essential part of Native American identity, can sometimes complicate matters when it comes to federal regulations and land use policies. Tribes continue to face significant barriers, including limited access to capital, the remoteness of their lands, and the lingering effects of historical trauma. Despite these obstacles, many tribes have found innovative solutions to these issues, demonstrating that economic growth and cultural preservation can coexist. Looking ahead, the future of Native American communities is filled with promise, as younger generations take on leadership roles and continue to advocate for change. The rise of Native American youth activism has become a defining feature of the 21st century. Young people are using their voices and platforms to speak out against environmental degradation, support social justice causes, and fight for the protection of sacred land. One of the key areas of focus for many Native youth today is the fight for environmental justice. Native American communities are often on the front lines of environmental battles, particularly when it comes to the protection of their ancestral lands from exploitation by outside corporations. In recent years, Native youth have been instrumental in movements like the fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline, APL, where they stood alongside allies to protect the Missouri River and the sacred Standing Rock Sioux lands. Their activism brought global attention to issues of indigenous rights, environmental protection, and the fight for clean water, showing the world that Native American youth are leading the charge for environmental justice. Along with environmental activism, the protection of Native American cultural heritage is a driving force in the future of Native community. The continued efforts to revitalize languages, ceremonies, and traditions are critical to ensuring the survival of Native culture. By preserving their cultural heritage, Native American communities are laying the foundation for a future in which their traditions are respected and valued, both within and outside of their community. The future also holds great potential for Native American communities in terms of economic and political power. As tribes continue to assert their sovereignty, there is an increasing focus on self-determination and independence. Native Americans are taking charge of their own governance, making decisions for their communities, and advocating for policies that reflect their needs and values. This includes a growing emphasis on sustainable development, health equity, and educational access. Education is a key area of focus for Native American communities, as increasing access to quality education will provide future generations with the tools they need to thrive. The creation of more tribal colleges and universities, as well as scholarships and mentorship programs, is helping to break down the barriers to higher education and open doors to professional careers. Native American youth are pursuing careers in law, medicine, business, and politics, and are becoming increasingly active in shaping the policies that affect their community. Finally, Native American communities are embracing new technologies to help preserve their cultural heritage and strengthen their social, political, and economic position. Digital archives, online language classes, and virtual powwows are all part of the modern Native experience, ensuring that their culture continues to thrive in the digital age. These efforts represent the power of technology to bridge the gap between generations and help preserve the traditions of the past while creating a pathway to a brighter future.